everyone, welcome back to the Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem, and it's been a wee while, but we are back in this lovely book by Kirby Rosanas, which is Worlds Within Worlds, and we're going back to this little page here, you may remember. We've actually not got much left to do, so we want to get cracked on with this and get this side finished up. So what we've got left to focus on here is this entryway into what I'm assuming is a restaurant or some sort of food shop. This looks remarkably like a fish. Sort of jog your memory a little bit here. We focused a lot on light sources in this picture. Obviously we have the lanterns here, and we had a little bit of reflection on the tree, etc. For this doorway we decided that there would be some illumination. We're going to make these into little lanterns, but also that the front part of this signage would also be illuminated, and that's why we've left this little gap here. So it makes sense to start with those areas because it will have a knock-on effect as to how we colour everything round about, and it also gives us a better gauge of how far out that light might fall or the shadows that it might cast. So I've got here my Castle Arts gold pencils, which is what we have been using. These are Castle Arts oil-based pencils that I am a huge fan of. So first things first, we need to pick out some colours. So I feel like the background to this sign would be yellow, and that these little they almost look like they would have tassels hanging off them. I feel like they would be red. So I'm going to grab the lemon yellow light. I'm also going to grab the brilliant yellow. And for a red colour, I think I want to go this scarlet red down here. So you can see there very faintly, I've left myself that little pencil line that we did way back. And that was to kind of gauge where the light source might reach to. So for these little tassely lanterns, I'm just going to put a single layer of the lemon yellow light down, goodness me. And I'm going to cover this whole area, including the elements that are actually on the sign, because I would imagine that the bulbs would be behind this sign, you know, behind the actual perspex or glass or whatever it is, and these images have been either painted on or, you know, they're like vinyl stickers or something onto the actual plate itself. So some of that would shine through, one would imagine, so just a sort of rough layer, but that's a nice light delicate colour. And if we use light colours for this, it means that the light's more likely to travel further because lighter colours are more reflective. So for these little lanterns, again, I talked about this with these other lanterns, you would assume that the bulb or whatever is actually emitting the light will be somehow attached here, so it's likely that the original colour of the shade will be less concentrated in the middle part, and you would see more of that original colour further away from that source. And I mean, it's up to you how far you want to take that. I was just kind of thinking a little hint there, you know, like that. And I'm taking this darker yellow now, so this is the brilliant yellow, and I'm just going to blend that out a little bit. That looks warm and inviting. And with this sign here, I'm just going to add this in. Oh, we need a sharpen. Oh, that didn't sound good at all. No. Broken lead. Someone was asking me about this sharpener the other day. This is the Tegal Multi Sharpener, and it allows you to control what size of point you have on your pencil. So from a short stubby one like this up to a longer pointier point. When this happens to my pencils, so the core's actually broken off inside the wood casing, so it's broken off, you know, a little bit further down. I would normally sharpen these pencils on a 3 or a 4 setting, and you can see I've got it set to 3 there. When it's like this, I'll dial it right back to a 1, and it's just so that we can establish a point. And the advice with these is, as with all sharpeners, is to turn the sharpener, not the pencil. Try not to put too much pressure on it, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I've managed to sort of grind away most of the wooden casing there. You can see the core starting to show again. So let's just keep going. I have to say I do twist the pencil a little bit. I kind of like do a bit of both. Okay, this is pretty crumbly. You can see it's kind of coming off on the desk there. I feel like we're getting somewhere. Okay, I'm starting to get a bit of a point on it, and that's actually not far off what a number 1 point would look like, but that is also wobbly. So I'm just going to see if that's going to come out. Yeah. Oh, this is not going well at all. Okay, so starting to get what looks like a point. So at this stage, and that feels a lot more secure, I'm going to dial this up to a number 2 now. So I'm just trying to get a little bit more core exposed because these pencils are quite soft. If you do have a really short stubby point, obviously it's protecting you from having more breakages because there's actually less surface area sticking out that you're putting pressure on, but it means you spend a lot of time sharpening. So I've managed to get that up to a 2. So I'm going to try and go to a 3 and then I'm just going to leave it at that, and hopefully that'll have remedied the situation. There we go. So that's a fairly decent point. I'll go with that. This core seems to be offset though, because if I turn this pencil, I hope you can see there's a lot more wood casing exposed on this side than there is on this side, and that usually means that something's slightly off. It does happen in pencils. It's not really a big deal unless it's really wonky, but that's just one of these things sometimes. But there we go, we've managed to sort it out. So if you're having problems with softer and or crumblier pencils, sometimes that's a really good tactic if you've got one of these sharpeners. And weirdly, all the time I've been doing this and all the time I've been using this sharpener, I don't think I've ever explained that in a video. Every day's a school day. Anywho, let's come back over here. Okay, yes, so I just want to use this slightly darker yellow in the corners of this sign here. Again, just the same principle that maybe the whole sign isn't backlit. You know, maybe it's kind of more centralized. So just pop that in at some of the corners here, and you can see there's actually shadow lines there. So hopefully that kind of fits in with what we're talking about. Why not? I think it kind of helps to give it like a bit of a warmer feel as well. Okay, and if you're feeling fancy, you can blend that out again with your original lemon yellow. Okay, so the other elements that we're working with now, we just have to take these a piece at a time and decide what's going to be affected by the light source and what is not. I feel like at this section here, it looks like a piece of roof that's protruding out. You know, this looks like a sort of overhang. So from the side, you know, if this was the shoe, so in behind here, if this was the shoe, that would be kind of coming out at an angle like that and maybe sloping down, and this is on the front. So I think that there would maybe be some light hitting off that front edge there, but this top part would be largely unaffected. So that's kind of what I'm going to stick with. Now I know it's been a long time, but I've actually kept out some of the pencils that I used last time. They're actually sitting loose in the pencil case. So what I want to do is try and reuse some of these colours, just to keep the uniformity, but we will introduce other colours as we go as well. Now the first thing that really stands out to me is, and I can't shake it, it's one of those things like once I've seen it I can't unsee it. This looks like a bit of avocado to me, and I know it's probably not, and these look like steaks or something, or you know, some kind of like pork chop or something. So I'm a go for it. We've used this green before, so this is our leaf green light, so we use this over in our shoelaces here, and I just want to pop that in over the top of our yellow colour here. So we're really giving that impression that the light is shining through. We do want that slight transparency to give it that lighter feel. We're not going to go too crazy here, but on this side here, maybe just add in a little bit more just so that it looks, yeah, like this. Okay, so next I'm going to pick up some of the orangey colour. So I've got the marigold here, and we could use these in this section. Now I don't know whether that might count as lettering, but I feel like that would be appropriate in there as well. I think I'll have one of these green as well. Maybe this one. I'll take that scarlet red again. Maybe just pop a little bit of that in there. And I've got the sepia pencil next. These might be dumplings or something in here. Maybe it's a box of eggs. But again, just a very light layer so that it looks like we've got some colour shining through. I do wish that green was a bit greener there. I might have to find a slightly darker green. So I'm just grabbing juniper green, so that's 056 GP. I want this a bit greener. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Happier with that. I might even pop a little bit of that down there. So I'm going back to my good old friend terracotta light here. I want this to be pretty pointy, so I'm going to turn this to a number 4. The reason it's upside down is because I'm left-handed, in case anybody's wondering. So we're thinking about the fact that this is exuding light this way, but also slightly blah, you know, like blah. And this sort of inside edge here would be the closest thing, and it would be hit by that, so we want to keep that quite pale. So again, just a light layer there. And sticking with the same pencil, this outside frame would be the same but slightly darker maybe, or slightly more saturated. That's probably a better phrase to use. So let's do that. Now I want there to be enough layers down here for there to be a marked difference between that inside edge and this outside edge. And it is actually easier to do this section by section than just go all the way around once. That might just be me though. There's every possibility that might just be me. Oh, never know these days. Okay, lovely. Now the same thing, I'm assuming that this part of the structure would be made of the same wood. And I'm going to colour in this underside here as well. I feel like we're going to need something to just give us a bit of a contrast there, but work on that as we go along. So again, thinking about my pencil lines, we've got these wee lanterns. Some of that light will probably be quite strong here, and it might be slightly darker here. So I'll maybe take that along to where my pencil line was and just sort of gradually fade it out, and we can add a bit of a darker colour in at this edge. So we've got the permanent brown here, and we need to go easy with this because this is quite a dark colour. But yeah, we pop a little bit of that in there. Now up in this section here, this is a different story. I feel that this sign sits out. I don't think that's flush, just the fact that it sticks out there and there. So this part would be much darker. So although we're going to use the same pencils, we don't have a direct light source, so we're going to play with that a bit more. So a fairly generous layer of the terracotta light first of all. So in order to push this section into the background, we need to go darker. So again, want a pretty good pointy point. Just want to start putting in, using a flicky motion, and we'll start darkening this down. So just working my way across here, giving us a little bit of texture as well. So you know, you're not trying to fill it in per se. So we're starting to see a bit of a difference between here and here. And to accentuate that further, we're going to take our Mars black pencil. We're going to use this a little bit more sparingly though. So I'm going to run that along the bottom edge there. Because this is quite a narrow space, this will have an effect. If we do the same thing here along the top edge as well, it kind of like it'll almost meet in the middle. If it was a slightly wider area, then I would use the flicky motion. But we're quite tight for space here, so we can cheat a little bit. Oh, who said that? So I'm keeping a light hand. I'm not pressing really hard because I don't want this big sort of stark black, you know, difference. It needs to be quite subtle. But that's working quite well. And so then we can do the same on the top edge here. And that's pushing that into the background. You know, it's kind of recessing it a wee bit. So we don't want any hard lines. And there we go. So that's automatically made that pop out a little bit. And what this also shows as well, if you're looking from here to the underside, you can tell it's made of the same material because of the lines on it, but it also helps to accentuate the fact that this is casting light upwards, you know, like it's bouncing off the underside of the sign or the porch or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I feel as well that maybe the bottom edge of this roof here, this section here, so this is the part that's on the slope, I feel like that would protrude from the wood. Ain't it right? So that bottom edge might catch a weeny bit of like light, maybe. Why not? Because it makes it interesting. And I really feel like this roof part like would be tiled, or even if it's like corrugated tin, but I feel like it would be red. So I'm going back to this scarlet red pencil. So thinking about this bottom edge, we've got some hatching there from Kirby as well, which is nice and helpful. So we'll pop a wee bit down there. And I might even take my lemon yellow light. I don't know why I feel like I'm saying that wrong. I'm like, lemon light. That's what it sounds like in my head. And I might just pop a wee bit of that down. Just in the middle part there, again, thinking about this would be the strongest area of light. And it's so subtle and it's probably not going to make a huge difference, but I like to do these things because it's fun and it makes you think. And we can just start building this up now. And we've got these little end pieces as well, which again, same thing might apply. Yeah, why not? I think that one's probably a lot less likely, honestly, but here we are. So to kind of accentuate this light area, I'm going to take the henna brown and I'm going to pop it in at the corners here. Just in those hatched areas. There we go. So that's giving us like a bit more of a glow in that middle section. So I'm going to take henna brown for these roof sections, I think. And we can pop some scarlet red on these sections here. So I'm going to make that quite bright and then just fade it out as it comes down into the sort of dipped area. And then I'm going to blend that with the henna brown. And then again grab this permanent brown. And then I'm going to use the henna brown in these little support structures, poles, struts, whatever you want to call them. And I'll pop in a bit of the permanent brown in those as well. And we'll continue this on. Now in these middle sections here, because we have this sign that's standing in, I'm going to grab the Mars black and I just want to kind of like work around the inside of these feet here, around the front, before I go back to my henna. Just need to touch up my scarlet red underlayer, sloppy. I'm going to jump back to the terracotta light as a base. And I'm going to chuck that down in behind here. And we've got our permanent brown, sharpen it up and we can get some flicks in here as well. So some from the bottom, some from the top, some that run all the way through, some not. Feeling very poetic today, aren't I? And we just want to build this up in layers. So we'll just get a bit of that down, do it both sides. And behind this lace. I feel like that one's very pale there. So I'm going for more permanent brown than terracotta here, you know, in terms of ratios. So I'm going to do the same with the Mars black, but just a little bit more sparingly. Again, making sure I've got a really, really sharp point on my pencil for doing this. I'll maybe go a bit heavier on this side here just because the laces are here. And then I just want to take my permanent brown and very lightly go over what we've got there. Make sure there's no wee sneaky white bits poking out. And we can move on to our stakes or whatever this may be. I'm kind of recycling the same colours here, so I'm trying to think smart when I'm doing this. For the pork whatevers, I kind of want to be using these colours, not the red obviously, but the henna for sure. So, because I'm thinking like cooked is probably a better look. Either that or these just might be avocado slices as well, like you never know. So if I start off by popping that in there, let's just go a step at a time here. I feel like green's quite a good theme here. Maybe it's like some kind of like pea puree, or I don't know, use your imagination. But let's pop that leaf green light in. This is kind of fun because that's going to pop out quite nicely, I think. I do want to grab this darker green as well, the juniper green. That was the one I'd kind of sneaked in down here. Because why not? We'll pop a wee bit of that in. Doesn't have to be everywhere. I've kind of made it look like Slimer's slime from Ghostbusters now, but never mind. And let's grab sepia. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I think that looks okay. Decisions. I'm going to go back with this henna brown now and just give this a bit more oomph. Nice and tasty. Okay, back to our terracotta light. I'm really hoping you can't hear Jock snoring in the background, but I realise there's every chance that you can. He's getting quite loud. He's away over the other, he's not next to me. Sometimes he sleeps down here, but he's over behind the other desk, so he's like at least 1.5 meters away from me. He's had an exciting day. Oh goodness me. Okay, right, I'm pretty happy with that. This does look quite orangey though. I'm not mad about it, but I think I maybe want to put like a second wee layer down, but you know, a bit more kind of cash. So kind of what I was doing before. Let's just go from the top here. I don't want it to be too washed out in the grand scheme of things. I'm happy that there's a subtle enough difference between what's going on here and what's going on there. So if I just grab the permanent brown now. Again, I want to create this as a sort of overhang, so if we just get a nice shadow line down there. I mean, I know we don't technically have any light source for it, but it just works. And we'll maybe pop a little bit down in these hatched areas that Kirby's put in, because why not? And we can use this permanent brown, so the same colour for the frame here. Okay, Mars Black. I've just set up an extra camera over the top of the desk so that you can see a little bit of Jock snoozing, because he looks absolutely like out cold, and y'all are always asking for a Jock cam, so I'm going to put a little bit of footage in here. I'll maybe put him down in the corner, or maybe that corner would be better. He's just... oh. You can tell that I just love my dogs. And I've said this before, we're trying to enjoy Jock for as long as we can, because he is an old man now. But he's definitely enjoying his twilight years, that's for sure. Okay, I'm back with my permanent brown here. And I'm not going to use any Mars Black on the peak of this here. We want this to be nice and smooth, but also we want it to stand out a little bit. I do need a bit more down here though. I don't feel like my Mars Black's done much down these down here, these here parts. Let me put a bit more in. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that looks a bit better. That little front foot looks really light, looks really out of place. Just darken that up again with the permanent brown. Okay. Okay, for these really dark sections, I don't really want to mess about with it, to be honest. I'm going to take my my Cool Grey Deep pencil, so that's 066. Again, one that we've used before. Well, I'm assuming we've used it before because I left it sitting out. It's been such a long time. So yeah, I'm just going to pop that in there. A couple of really nice, even layers. Get that really, really dark. Again, just give us some contrast, because we're starting to get kind of very mid-toney in places here. Which is okay. I mean, we are doing it in the context of the actual image that we're colouring, but you know. Well, hi! You awake? Everybody's watching you. Cares not a jot. Oh, here comes the other one. Wagging his tail ever so slightly there. We saw it. Hi, this one. Did you come through to make sure Jock's okay? Yeah? Make sure he's okay? Biscuit. Good. Anyway, now that we've had a Jock interlude, that's Mars Black, that's not what I was looking for. I got sidetracked, see, I got sidetracked by Jock. Back to this Cool Grey Deep. I was going to sharpen it, that's what I was doing. Interrupted by dogs. I feel like I want to do the same in this underneath top part edge. That made zero sense, made sense in my head. So I feel like that's going to give us a bit of a pop and a bit of contrast in this top area, because there is quite a lot of wood going on here. I kind of want that though, like I like the uniformity and the consistency of those types of things, because that's the person that I am. I do not make apologies for that. But we also want contrast with what's going on here. So again, I'm going to go back to this idea that we've got down here with the terracotta light. And we'll take our permanent brown so we can be a bit more adventurous here. So I'm just choosing sections here to add more of the permanent brown. And now what I don't want to end up is with like a stripy situation or like a spotty dog situation. So we have to, this is one of these ones where you need to try and be random, but don't think about being random because you end up not being random. And that's a difficult skill to acquire. It's like if I say to you, don't think about a big red button. Okay, so that does look a bit sort of severe, but we can smooth this out. If we go back over, not pressing too heavily, but if we go back in with the terracotta pencil again, it just gives us, you know, we can kind of smooth it out a little bit without losing too much of the texture. There is a bit of a balance when you're using a softer pencil, but as you can see, I mean, that's still very clear, so, you know, we'll stick with that. But look, we've used the same pencils, and we've managed to get very different effects just because of the ratio and the pressure that we're using, and that's one of the reasons I really like colour pencils. Makes me happy. I think I'll have a middle strut here, and I'm just gonna go, I'm like just gonna mash in, go for it, mash in that terracotta, and I'm gonna skip straight to the Mars Black. get a nice pointy point on the go. And I'm just going to flicky, 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 flicky. Lovely job. And then it means I can use this, still sticking with the same pencils, I can use this permanent brown on this part of the framework. So I'm going to do that there and there, and this top edge also. And then I'm going to grab the Mars Black, and I'm going to use quite a lot of that in here. I do want this to look as if it's like all part of the same thing, so that's why I'm trying to bring in some sort of consistency in terms of like the frames, etc. So this obviously ties in with the frame part round the sign. I don't think it's something that's vitally important. You know, it's not imperative. Imperative, there we go, there's a good word for a Friday. But it's just one of those things that I feel like it's kind of nice. And it makes an image feel familiar as well. If people, you know, subconsciously, obviously they don't look at a picture and go, oh look, that and that's terracotta light. But subconsciously the brain is always looking for patterns. And if it finds something like that, then it becomes familiar, which is 9 times out of 10, that is a positive feeling. And it makes someone at ease with what they're seeing with the eye. You got also a bit of psychology for you there today as well. God, we're doing well today, aren't we? It's quite interesting because I haven't been firing on all cylinders this last few days. I've had a runny nostril, just one nostril, since I went out for a run when it was very, very cold, and it's just not gone away. I don't feel sick or anything, I'm just slightly congested and it's more irritating than anything else, but it makes you kind of like a bit sluggish. So yeah, I'm quite impressed with myself today, all the things we're talking about. Alright, Team at Coho, so for these front edges here, I really should have learned by now to stop talking. I've been doing these videos long enough. If y'all didn't like it, you wouldn't still be here though, let's be fair. So we're going to take the terracotta light across here. So we're kind of thinking with these sections more like we've done down here. So more permanent brown than terracotta in terms of ratios. And that should tie that whole top section in together quite nicely, one would think. Again, just for a bit of variation, I'm going to take my strokes across the way this time. I know that Kirby's little lines are going up and down the way, but maybe make these a bit darker in here as well because they're underneath. And then just like before, we'll take that terracotta light and we'll just brush it across there. And then we're going to grab the Mars Black with our little pointy point. And there we have it. So let's stop for a wee pause here and zoom out, and that's looking fairly good. I feel like this is maybe a little bit lighter than I intended, but it almost looks as if there's maybe a little spotlight hiding somewhere that's shining up onto it to illuminate it, so not entirely mad about that. It's not terrible, but that's it. I'm fairly happy with that, and I'm really glad that I've used as much of the darker colours in there as I have. So let's move on now down to this doorway and these little finishing touches. And then at the end, we're going to squeeze in, even if it makes this a longer video, we're going to squeeze in these little leaves, and then this side will be done. So when it comes to this doorway, you can see I've got my pencil line there. We're going to carry on our merry way with our terracotta light. And I think we'll make the door a different colour to the surrounding area. So let's make this the wood colour that we've been sort of using all the way around. So in the immediate area, so in my graphite circle here, so to speak, we want to keep it as pale as what's going on up here. So like that. And I've just taken that to the edge of my little graphite circle there. And we want this side to be the same. I've just noticed there's like a little downspout there, that's really cute. A little umbrella stand as well. So on the other side of our line here, we want this to be a little bit darker. Obviously it's still within the glow, because it's kind of enclosed, that light's going to bounce off everywhere, so this is going to be lighter than these pillars, which I think are sitting slightly further towards us, the viewer. So we can do this in sort of stages. So if I put a second light layer down on this area here, so I'm just kind of roughly putting that in, and then I'm going to erase that graphite line because we don't want it looking muddy. There we go. So we'll bring that down to there, and the further down we get, the darker it gets, and that ties in with what Mr. Rosanus has down here. And we want this side to match up more with what's going on down in this part here. So again, a second layer. And if you're not quite sure how it's going to turn out, if you stick to light layers, you can always add a third layer if it's, you know, still a bit washed out looking. But the idea is to sort of match this up. Try and even up a little bit. I feel like this is quite subtle, so I might go a bit bolder here. There, I like that better. We've got the leaf green light, that's what we're using. I think we'll go to the permanent green, so that is 110, and we'll just go very lightly with that. Start at these outer edges a wee bit. Just feel like it needs a little bit more oomph. Okay, and then down in this bottom section, I'm going to go back to the juniper green, get a fancy door on the go, and pop a layer of that down. Okay, I feel like with the permanent green, I feel like I need more here. And then we can work away with this juniper green now. And then down here where this hatching is, I'm going a little bit darker again. And jump back to this permanent green. We'll pop in a little bit of this on the top here. And finish off by grabbing this Payne's grey. Maybe this is a bit of like a grubby door at the bottom. Okay, better. Happy with that. I think this little sign on the door will got cadmium yellow. So in that corner there, I'm going to make that a wee bit darker. And then I'll just have that lighter as it goes over into the light. So if we go back to our old friend terracotta light just for a moment here, I'm just going to put this frame in. I want to keep these colours quite light and bright within this doorway, just in keeping with the light source situation. And for this downpipe here, if I go back to the permanent green, we can pop that down in here. And I'm just going to take that all the way down because that's a bit of an unknown space in there. We'll call it downpipe all the way down. But then if I go to this juniper green and we can create this curvature. Now, in terms of our light source, the hatching's actually on the wrong side. But we can kind of counteract that by using a darker pencil. So if we take that down this right hand edge, that suggests that the light's spilling out this way. And this is going to be fairly dark to there. And then that's all going to be darker in there. Now again, I would maybe even take this darker still. So this Hooker's green's probably a good colour for that too. Now for this area in here, this is all very sort of unknown and kind of grubby. So I want to start with the henna brown, which is the colour that we'd been using for the shoe. But this is very, very, very dark in here. So I'm going to take that all the way down there. I'll stop it here. That is the sole of the shoe. But I really want to show that this is recessed back, you know, and this porch part's really standing out. And because we've got some really heavy hatch in there as well, that kind of facilitates what I want, which is really good. So I'm going to take this cool grey deep and just pop that down in there. We'll deal with this bottom part in a wee second. We'll have that really dark in there. Following the hatching. And then maybe less, so over here maybe like a lighter layer. And we'll go to another layer of the henna. Because we do want to retain the, you know, the original colour, we just want it to look a bit more shadowy. There we go, that's fairly good, I'm fairly happy with that. We've got this little petal here. Hello petal. So I think we'll grab the brilliant yellow and we'll pop that down in there. And then just do the same thing very lightly. Pop a wee bit of that in there. Just to show that, oh, we're in the shadows here. Okay, for this bottom part where the sole is, I'm just kind of trying to like gauge that along, so there would be, I'll pop a wee bit of Hooker's green in there, and maybe in there. And then take this cool grey deep and just pop a little bit of that in, very, very lightly. Just to show that, yep, we're acknowledging that that is the sole of the shoe. It's in there. You could even use a little fine liner and draw those lines back in if you were feeling that way inclined. So let's take the sepia pencil for this pot, and again assuming that this is curved, most pots tend to be, unless they're square. And we can pop a darker edge down this side again. So we're just following on from the theme that we've had. This is sitting in front here, but we're just assuming that this area is fairly illuminated because obviously we've brought the path out as well. So even if it's not completely correct, you can still have consistency. And maybe take the Mars black there just down that outside edge. Any choice of green here. I've got the permanent green. We'll maybe pop that down in there. And on this very left hand edge we can go back to this leaf green light. And pop a little bit of that in there. Just pick out those edges on the left hand side. And again, I would be tempted to take this cool grey deep and just add in a little bit of shadow. Give it a wee bit of depth and dimension. Now for our sign here we can kind of do what we want really, you know. So I'll grab the indigo light, and I think this little fish should be that colour. Maybe it's a little sardine. I don't want to put too much detail in these here. I mean, this is very much the, you know, although it's a nice detail, we don't want to be too fussy about it. So I'm sticking with the colours that I've used up here. Again, I'm assuming this would be some kind of lettering maybe. I'm going to use the leaf green light on this one. Maybe down here too. And then I can take this scarlet red. I've not seen that for a wee while. I don't know whether that's a leaf or a part of the design, but here we are. So I think for the background in this, I kind of want to go similar to up here, but maybe a little bit darker. So we'll go for the permanent brown for this one. So I'm going to add this in sort of patches. And then I'm going to grab this lemon yellow light colour. You know, look as if it's been battered about a little bit. Maybe it's, you know, that sits out there all the time, so it's seen all the weather. And we can maybe grubby up the corners a little bit more with the permanent brown. Give it that distressed look. And just for some contrast, I'm going to use the Mars black for the frame here. And there we are, and that's popping out quite nicely. I like the Mars black because it's a bit of a softer black, it's not quite as stark. Got a little mound of dark hue as well. I think we'll go permanent brown for that. There we go. It's stuck in the ground. Okay, so moving on over, we've got this sign here. And again, trying to sort of think consistently with what we'd done up here. So I've got the permanent brown. And there might be a little bit of light hitting that. I wouldn't think there would be very much, but maybe on this left hand side. Then we can darken this up a little bit more here. And again, take that cool grey deep. Or even the Payne's grey. I would say cool grey deep would be better though. And for this sign here, I'm going to take the Payne's grey. We've got quite a lot of pale things going on here, so nice to have something different. And again, we can just make this a little bit darker down in here. Maybe along this edge a wee bit. And maybe we can pick out these details with the same pencil. So, you know, maybe this is in it's in black and white, or grey and black, grey and white. And we've got our wee umbrella stand here, which I can go into with the scarlet red, and maybe pick up the henna brown. And again, just make that a little bit darker at the bottom because it's a wee bit further away from our lanterns here. And we'll pop in some umbrella handles. So cute. So I've got ultramarine. Let's have a wee pop of colour there. And there's got to be a yellow umbrella in there, surely. I mean, you can pick any colour you want for your umbrellas. There's nobody's saying that you have to have specific colours. And then I'm going to add in the sepia here just for these lampshades. Maybe leave a little edge just for interest. Okay, back to terracotta light now. We'll deal with these steps. So the umbrella stand might cast a wee bit of a shadow depending on where it's sitting in relation to the lanterns. So let's just pop a little bit of a darker colour in there. And for the steps, it's the top edge of the step that's going to catch the light the most. So again, with this terracotta light, if we just follow the line work and put a little line down on that bottom edge, make that darker in there. I might even grab the henna and just add that in again. Make sure you've got a nice sharp pencil for this, just to really give some definition there. There we go, that's better. Happy with that. Okay, for this pillar, we're going to use a similar situation to we've done elsewhere. So we'll get a layer of the terracotta light down first. But this is going to be darker. And this is going to really show off the fact that those lanterns are in, you know, inset. Work our way around all these very interesting notices here. And then we can grab the permanent brown, if you remember the pencils that we'd used before for this. So there might be a little bit of bounce light here, there might not be, but let's kind of keep to a theme a wee bit. And then we can take our Mars Black. And this is really the pencil that's doing the work here. So I've got my Payne's Grey. And I feel like this is more about taking away the white of the paper. We've got this quite pale area here. And we can do as we did on the other side and just make this mildly more interesting. We've got plenty of colour everywhere else, so I don't feel the need to have a lot going on there. So we've got this light source here as well, so I'm just going to take the lemon yellow light and I'm going to very gently add this in. Overlap a little bit with the darker colour. Try not to do it too much with the blue because it will give us green. We don't want that. But there we go, that's just a nice finishing touch. Okay, for the leaves, I'm just going through the colours that we used up at the top, which is, I mean, literally all the pencils that we've been using the whole way through this video. So the colours from the tree. So I'm going to take one of the yellows, one of the oranges, one of the browns. I think the henna brown's probably going to be a good shout. And I'm just going to work my way around and jump about between the pencils and get all these little itty bitty bits done. So I'll speed this part up, you don't need to sit and watch me go through every single leaf because that wouldn't be much fun. So that was a really nice but slightly complicated set of light sources, but it's made for quite a nice cosy picture, I'm sure you'll agree. I think maybe the only thing that I might like to do is bring in this glow from the lanterns a little bit and make it a little bit warmer, a little bit softer. And I would do that probably with the brilliant yellow, or maybe the cadmium yellow would be a better choice. I feel like this might be a little bit too pale, so we can warm this up and bring it in a little bit more. I just feel like there's a little bit too much white space going on there. And again, that's entirely up to you, how you feel about it. I don't even think it's a case of bringing it in more, I think it's just a case of making it more obvious. The paler colour is just a wee bit too pale. Just make it look a little bit more glowy. Glowy. Proper colouring terminology, you know. Okay, yeah, I'm much happier with that. Okay guys, that is it for today. That is it for this picture. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'm sorry this last part's been so late, but obviously my Christmas got in the way. What I would like to know from you all now is, do you want to move straight over to the other page, or do you want to take a break from Kirby and maybe colour in something else? If you've any preferences on that, I would love to hear about it down in the comments. Just to remind you, what we were going to do with this page was make this tree a cherry blossom tree, so this would have a lovely bright blue background, you know, like clear skies. And we would try and mirror some of the colours in a different palette. So for example, we would still have a red boot, but we would maybe use more pastel colours, maybe make it more of a pinky colour. So if that's something that you would like to see, you can let me know. And if you've got any other suggestions or preferences for the next colouring video, I would be happy to take that on board as well. So that's it for today guys, thank you very much for watching, thanks for coming and hanging out, and I will see you back in the cave really soon for another video and a work in progress Wednesday. Have a great day everyone, bye bye for now.